Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. Shaquille O'Neal did all the smoke. And make sure you go see it. I saw clips of it. Um, he talks about in a clip where he basically was talking about if him and Kobe would have played together. Shaq, in my opinion, he copped out. He should have stayed in Orlando. He would have won probably 4 or 5 rings. The team was built for him. They could have exchanged somebody once Horace got up there in age. They could have switched him out. Everyone's saying, well, Penny would have probably got hurt still. You don't know that. And then you could have messed around and got T-Mac down the line. So these are the things that the what ifs, or when you talk about it and stuff, between how these players were and the egos that got in between. See, people think, well, this guy would have played with this. The misconceptions all the time is that Kobe was the ball hog when Shaq had the higher PER, and Shaq attempted more shots since he got there in LA more than Kobe did during those years he played with Kobe. Even Kobe's in his latter part of his career, when Shaq wasn't there, Shaq still attempted more shots than he ever did. So, it's no disrespect, but it's just being honest. Kobe gets a bad rap because people just want to hate Kobe because of the allegations and because of all the stuff. And the problem is that Shaq should have took the less money to stay in LA. That's all he had to do. And they could have won 3, maybe 4 more championships because Shaq would have gave the torch to Kobe. Shaq needed a Kobe Bryant more than he needed a Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade didn't have that psycho in him to push you to the next level. And what I mean by that is Shaq should have said, you know what? I'm the big fella. I done did everything I did. It's time for me to pass this along, like he said. And he should have passed it along. But this is why people don't understand his egos. Shaq's problem was he did not like to give up the shine. He didn't like to give up the shine. He hated giving up the shine. He always wanted the attention. That's why I told people Shaq is a hater. People say, well, Dr. J's a hater. Well, he's a hater too. Shaq has always been a hater. If he would have still been the same Shaq playing with Dwayne Wade that he was early on with Kobe and then Penny, he would have hated on Dwayne Wade eventually because Dwayne Wade would have got all the attention. It's just that people love Shaq's personality, and Shaq to me has a great personality. Shaq is fun-loving. He's cool. He's funny. He keeps the party live. Penny Hardaway's personality doesn't translate to the public because he's very reserved and to himself. Kobe Bryant, his personality didn't transfer to the public. He was very maniacal. He wanted to win. Like, he was so sold on, look, I gotta win. And he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So those personalities, of course. Dwayne Wade, very reserved, laid back. I say his personality, was sort of like Penny's a little bit. Kobe's was more like Mike's, where it was like, look, let's get this done. Didn't really care for everybody wanting to know them. They only put people around them that they were cool with. Well, Kobe was only cool with probably a few people, where Mike was cool with everybody because it benefited Mike. But if Mike had the choice, he'll chill to himself. But Shaq, the thing is, Shaq people love to overrate him because of him and his promotions. He promoted himself as Superman and he did all these things, the diesel and all this. I just think people live in fantasy and blindness instead of living reality. So it happens. But I'm gonna watch some more of the All the Smoke. I only watched clips of it, but Shaq was saying if he would have stayed with Kobe and would have took the backseat to Kobe, he think they would have won a total of 7. And I think they could have won I think they would have won 8. If Shaq would have took a backseat to Kobe, they could have won 8 championships. But that wasn't the problem. See, what people don't understand, the problem is the problem is this. You guys had the Spurs in your way. The Spurs were a tough team. Tony Parker was a problem, and so was Ginobili. Y'all could have actually won 5 together. They could have went on a 5-peat, but the Spurs were just that good. And it wasn't because Shaq and Kobe would be on the same page when the game started. They played together on the court. Yeah, they would have their issues, but that never spilled on the court. The problem is they just got beat. They just got beat. And people got to understand, Jordan didn't have a team that was together like that in the 90s to rival him. Like Magic had in the 80s, he had the Pistons, the Sixers, the Celtics, the Rockets, I think the Blazers. He had in the Mavericks, he had teams that rivaled him. In the 90s, everybody basically was an expansion team. The only team that probably was together from the 80s going into the 90s was the Pistons that first year, and then the year after Isaiah developed carpal tunnel in his wrist. The Blazers were together, but the Blazers, they weren't able to close. They didn't have a guy mentally who could push them over top. Not taking none from Glide. I love the Glide. The Glide is one of the greatest to ever play the game, but he was a number 2. He was great, but he was really a number 2. So was Patrick Ewing. There was really no alpha ones in the 90s. Hakeem was one. That was about it. Charles was great at what he did, but he just didn't have enough to get over the top. But in the 2000s, the Lakers and the Spurs, they were rivals. Then you had the Mavericks on the low getting better. They were getting better. They snuck and beat everybody that year to play the Heat in the 06 finals. In the East, the Pistons were there. The Pistons were giving trouble. LeBron's Cavs were coming up. AI and the Sixers. You had guys out there, the Bucks with Ray Allen before he was traded off to the Sonics. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Could they have won 8? I don't know if they could have. They probably could have, like Shaq said, they probably could have won 7. I think they could have won I think they would have won 7. Kobe says they could have won 10, but they probably could have, because think about it. If you would have had, all you had to do was just keep reloading, but it would have been tough. The San Antonio Spurs were very tough, but I think if Kobe and Shaq would have stayed with each other, ultimately, I think they probably would have won either 6 or 7 championships altogether, because I think they would have won 6. I think they would have won 6 and tied and would have been sitting at the table with Mike and Pippen. That's what would have happened, because Kobe won 2 without Shaq and Shaq won 1 without him. So if they would have stayed together, they would have had 6, and I believe Tim Duncan could have had 5. Tim would have eventually probably tried to get 6, but we don't know. If Kobe could have got Chris Paul, How do we know Kobe doesn't win 2 more? I think Kobe wins. I think Kobe would have won if they would have got Chris Paul. He most likely would have won 1 more, probably 2. He probably would have had 7. He would have been able to have 7 if that Chris Paul deal would have gone through. So, I mean, yeah, man, it's tough to gauge. Let me know in the comment section. Do you agree with Shaq? If they would have stayed together, they would have won 7 total. I agree with him. They would have won 7, but it would have been tough. The Spurs, I think, would have been a problem. But if they would have been able to reload, and Kobe was the leader, and Shaq would have been falling in line, I think it would have been a better dynamic. I think they could have won some more. And then plus, they probably still could have went out and got Powell. You know, Powell and Shaq in the post, that would have been a lot better than Bynum and Gasol. But let me know in the comment section what you think. Thank you for listening. We are out. Deezy.